Hello, everyone. I'm back. Let's see, who do we have here so far? It's me and James. How you doing, James? Promote you up to panelist real quick. And Taylor is here. Lovely. All right, let's get this in the gallery view so everyone can see each other. Hey, Taylor.
Hey.
How's things? There's Jan. My trusty, faithful crowd of photography-loving people.
Here we are.
Here we are. Although apparently the last two shows were watched by a bunch of people in various places, including somebody who got up and watched from Seattle, Washington. Which
Nice.
That's
So-
like really.
So did you promote that Taylor was going to present his portfolio?
Taylor and I did a little bit of promotion, but just hang on, just like 2 days or a day before.
Yeah.
And I certainly need to get on top of that entire scheduling thing and prepping stuff so that it's not like an hour before the show I say, okay, today I'm doing this, because then people will get a chance to, to.
I mean, because I think the small group we have are you and the whole thing, and are here because we like to. But when you have an artist presenting a portfolio, there might be a wider audience on that.
Yeah, agreed. It's like I said, I need to think a bit more in advance, which is, considering the current situation, not all that easy to do. So
Yeah. I mean, we did have a handful of extra people during my talk last week, which was cool to see. But yeah, they were just a lot of personal family and friends.
Okay.
So,
yeah, but people were there, and what was it? The last session on Tuesday, we had about 8 people, which is fine.
nice.
Just a matter of, I mean, I'm not doing this for fame. I'm doing this just to.
So tell me what's happening on the street there now that we've got, what, 3 or 4 days of things being open?
Yeah. Well, Germany's returning to being very German. There's people standing around bitching at each other because people are parking wrong and all the normal stuff.
Yeah.
So, the topic for today is how to connect with collectors online, like the communication process. And I discussed this before, and I keep working on it. And I wanted to present some of the toolkits that I've been using, besides Zoom, of course, which everybody knows about, and the live streaming. A number of galleries have been using Instagram, particularly Instagram stories, which seem to be very successful. And we're going to be stepping into that entire process in a very specific way soon, with small vignettes where we show a picture and like a sound bite or a 20 to 30-second video which just says something interesting about the picture, like why is this picture worth your attention, and put those in the story. And then here, I'll share my screen, which I'll just do the full desktop because there's not really much here that's dangerous to look at. I'll hide this here so we don't get like a feedback loop. Within my inventory system, what I've done is I've created like, there's a font. I need to move this for a moment. And then I've got these public links, right, with a chat bot here, which people can communicate with me. And the reason this is interesting, I should actually close this and go to an exhibition which is currently running, which is I've shown many of these extensively, so I'll go into this one. The original, and if we look at this on, it's my private blog. There. That's what I was looking for. What I did is I integrated it with the home page, so that when you hear looking at pictures, you can click on this find out more, it takes you here, and then there's some information, and you can connect with me using, again, this chat system. And the way we've also set it up is, I'll find this one picture where we added some additional text. I can add more information here. The question is, of course, is this going to get people to engage me more? And the reason why I changed this is I had this buy now system set up, which was like an online shop.
Right.
And I paid attention to it, and I did minimal, pushing it on social media, and I'd mentioned it to a number of clients and so on. I did not get a single click on the buy now call to action, not one. And again, we've discussed this before. One of these problems that we have is that the art world is not like the buying nature of collectors and of art lovers is not the same in the larger scale as that of people who buy, even things like
Shoes or purses or what have you.
yeah, right. Because there's always this kind of this sensibility towards, it needs to have a very particular there's an experience that goes with it, going to the gallery and having the song and dance, which I fully would love to do. This is what we gallerists do, but right now we can't.
Well, what about on this? I think this is great. What about though just adding the button buy now, just in case there's somebody out there that knows the piece or knows the artist or wants to buy it, and not have to go through the process of find out more. That would.
Well, it would be the same process basically, because the buy now button brings you here, where you then have the option to add it to your cart and move on. And
so
like
what was the process if you just wanted to buy this online and you don't want to talk to anybody?
Well, the idea I have is that you would go through here, and this would then become the shop, because this is directly connected to my inventory system, which means that at the point
to buy it now.
Oh, I just did this morning, James. So give me a break.
I thought this was in-depth planning and operations. Okay, I like that. I like that. But yeah, just make it easy to buy if somebody actually wants to buy it now.
Yeah. Well,
but I think this is great.
The idea here is that I can, if I get rid of that, I go here. And I can add here a work by a member of the Rodchenko okay, so and then if I go to the public link, then I have this option of adding like literally specifically sales information. And one idea I've been looking at is possibly doing audio captures or video streams, like short videos of me or somebody from the gallery or somebody connected to the artwork speaking about the artwork. And this goes back to another system that I've been working on, the art register, which is a lot of test data in here right now. But here we can see, for example, this is one of the pictures in the exhibition. This system is centralized and can be used with an image recognition library, which means that I can connect data sets to this from everywhere. So the idea is that if I can, for example, Taylor, if I put your work inside of the art register, then you could add sound bites or video clips, or James, same for you, and Jan for you. You could add information here, which I would then in turn be able to pull when I'm here. because I have the connection between this data set and the one in the API or in the art register. And that makes, one of the major things that I was focusing on when I've been working on this software for like 5 years now. One of the major things I've been working on was communicating or allowing artists to communicate with the audience as much as gallerists. And I think that there is a reason why both voices should have a platform. And some artists hate the galleries to speak, some galleries hate the artists to speak. But in the end, the buyer needs to be able to access the information to understand the work that they're interested in. Right. If the initial flame is engaged by looking at the picture, saying, "Hey, I really like this. What is this?" Then it behooves me to give the people interested in it enough information, and particularly for things like the artistic process, the physical process. The things, James, that you discussed with your very meticulous large format work, and Taylor, what we discussed in our conversation about how you make your prints, and the fact that the pinhole camera and the reason for that, all of that information feeds into people's understanding of the arts.
What about even creating a possibility of making an appointment to talk to somebody, do a Zoom or something like that with the artist or with you? Somebody.
Yeah, that's
differences around the world wouldn't necessarily be click on this and somebody's going to pick it up, but certainly make an appointment.
Yeah, it's absolutely planned, and that would be one of the things that I'd want to put into this kind of system here. Is I'd be able to go in and say, okay, like I'm not going to take a call at 4 a.m. unless I have to be up programming like I was last night. So that's exactly one of the reasons why, for example, having a Zoom link here would be needed. And again, this is all, in Germany we say this was knitted with a hot needle. It's a German phrase here. This is all done very quickly yesterday, but the idea would be to have the experience here be something like that. To the point of, like I was talking about the same that Apple uses on their site, which I absolutely love. And I think the experience of it becomes really beautiful, is this, where I'm scrolling through the page now, and you see how these animations are responding to the scroll effect. There's a library that I can do that with. Now they're using After Effects here. This is, I think it's called Lottie, is the library that they're using for this. But the idea would be that in this case, as opposed to just having a static page, I could do a real focus on the image, give it a really nice, clean presentation. And then when you scroll through, piece by piece, you get the information. So it becomes almost like a sales experience. I'm not just kind of like, okay, here, this is what I know, either buy it or fuck off, basically.
Right.
Another possibility that you were just looking at there was like, I was looking at my stuff in some cases. So if it's the whole image, it doesn't have the full detail that mine have, because they're large format and big prints. And then if you could zoom in on, put a file up that's larger than just the screen, and so that the person viewing it could zoom in and look at the details.
Yeah, there's a library for that. IIIF is what it's called. It's used in a lot of museums, which means that museums could actually do this as well to make the experience better, which it reduces a large image into a bunch of smaller tiles and then recalculates them. And then depending on the zoom, it delivers different parts of it. So it's a network optimized version of a zoom system, which is being used by a number of auction houses at the moment as well.
I don't even think you need anything that sophisticated. I mean, if you got a 40 by 50 inch print and there's details in it, but for mine, a simple 8 by 10 at 300 DPI gives you a lot of detail, and it's not a very large file.
Well, it becomes larger. It becomes exponentially larger. It's not large if one person's looking, but every bit is expensive when you're talking about things that are being accessed by a lot of people. and that puts a lot of heat on server load because the network needs to push that information through. But point is taken. It doesn't, you know, the triple IF, I nerded on you. I geeked on you.
Well,
Triple IF really,
know some of this stuff, but I don't know that one.
it does exactly that. It makes the experience of looking at a high res image very fast and very fluid, with very low latency and network usage. So. Yeah, so that, you know, and the idea here would also be, for example, to bring in possibly a live chat directly in the screen here, but I don't want to do that right away because first off, somebody might like live chat me and like get my butt because my phone's in my pocket, which is stupid. And other things like that, you know, because I have to consider time zone issues. Another thing that I was looking at is Matterport, which is also interesting. And I did a test, what was it, yesterday? And this is done with, so these pictures are horrible, right? This is literally just me hacking this through, which is why I'm like the ghost guy in every picture, right? But this is something that this company Matterport does, which is pretty cool, I think, you know?
That is
because it gives me the opportunity to walk through.
I like that. Yeah, the more images you have, I mean, like you don't have that curved wall if you have enough, if you put the camera someplace in between that and do that. But I think this is a great technology.
Mm-hmm.
And what it allows for, and I don't know how to do this with the API yet, but you have this, and if I link on that, where do I end up? Well, bada bing, bada boom,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
And so
that is beautiful.
And the idea is, if I can have this be, let me see, where's my, that's not, sorry, beam to beam. If I can get that, or the idea is that you land on this page, you get first off this very clear presentation of, boom, this is what it is. And the moment you scroll up, this image switches into that. And then you literally have the ability to, to walk through the space. Oh, see, this is like the way I took the pictures is all weird. And that's me with my "Don't Mess With Me" t-shirt. And these cameras are funny because they literally photograph them in a globe, right? So you actually you cannot not look stupid in one of these pictures.
Well, you're supposed to hide in the other room.
Yeah, I'd have to go into the other room though.
Yeah.
And then take the pictures with a remote, which I was just too lazy to do yesterday.
Well, you can do that on your phone from the other room. I mean, it works if you just go out of sight.
Yeah. So, and I think this is, I mean, you can zoom in here at least enough that you can get an idea of what it is.
Yeah.
And this is, and again, it's with all the, I mean, with this exhibition, it's going to be a major pain to input all the hotspots, but it's possible, I can do it. And you can put these points far enough out that you can kind of look past them. I wish they weren't so heinous, but this system was made for real estate agents. That's the primary.
Well, so, I think they're finding that a lot of museums and galleries are using this, and they might, be modifying their software just for them, for you guys.
Yeah, I can see that happening because I think there's a good amount of business in this for them, because this is crazy. I walked through here and with the camera on a tripod, just put it down, took a picture, moved it using an app, and then it would register where the picture was taken, and it rendered this entire thing all by itself.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Which,
yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it made that really like gnarly looking 3D model, that zoom in model, which I hate. But you know, whatever. I mean, that's a different thing. Yeah. See, you can see how like sketchy all this is, because these are just like random shots, right? And then I could even go in and you know, do a walkthrough so that it could automate a walk through the gallery.
Yeah.
And this again brings me then to Insta360, which is another technology I'm looking at. This is where I bought my camera, because the camera I have works with, it's a page would load. Come on, internet, like dial up. Come on, come on, come on, you can do it. Probably like
Can it?
56 baud modem, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I got two guys standing out front doing smoke signals in binary. It'll show up at some point. Yeah, there we go. Oh no, can't be reached. They seem to be open, yeah, because everyone's, well, they have a camera, they offer a camera which you can mount to your phone, which you can then chat with people using the 360-degree camera, which means that it would be like the conversation we're having with this ability below.
Oh, wow.
I could walk somebody through my gallery and they could then decide what to look at while we're chatting.
Yeah.
And the idea I have is if I could do that from here, like instantiate that kind of conversation from here, then that could be a really interesting experience. You know, a way to bring the collector into the gallery, to get them to have the experience inside the room with me. Because I think that's one of the major things that is going to separate or is going to be a hindrance to people's buying willingness. You know, in the articles that I've been reading, people, like, online sales are happening, but they're happening for known entities. Like if it's a blue chip, or if it's, you know, from one of the major galleries where the name has enough cachet that you can, you know, pull it off, then you're okay. But for anybody unknown, people just aren't doing it. Like they're not touching stuff. And that can't be it, you know, because right now, it's, you know, blue chips and you know, what's known is easy because we're still in the first weeks or months of this situation. But the shift is going to be massive. And with the fairs disappearing, where are people going to discover stuff, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm like, you know, I don't know exactly where this trip's going to go.
Yeah. What if you did a vernissage, a 1 hour vernissage of your online gallery with a 360 camera, and it's another Zoom thing, but you know, from 7 p.m. to 8, and you did that every 3 months, or, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, one of the largest problems, you know, I've done openings where no one's shown up. Not many, but I've done them, like 2, I think, in my career so far.
With wine or beer, can you?
Well, for one of them, I actually made glühwein, or like hot red wine, because it was freezing cold outside. So I had this huge pot of red wine, which I couldn't keep it. So I didn't feel the cold by the end of that opening. Door open, I'm standing outside singing Viking songs. No, but what I wanted to point to was the conversations are key. You know, and this is the interaction. The reason I do this show is because of the fact that we can talk. We meet twice a week and we just discuss things. And that's what happens at openings as well. People come and you discuss the work on the wall, you discuss the artist and that, but also all these other topics come up, which are just part of our regular everyday. inside of the art world. It's kind of like, whatever, the corner bar of the art world is the opening, where everyone goes and meets and greets and hangs out. And doing that alone is a challenge.
Yeah, but and the problem with the Zoom meeting though is that only one or two people can talk. I mean, the groups, there's three of us here today. Jan just left, but he'll come back. But in an opening when there's 100 people, you can select one or two to go talk to. You can't do that with this technology.
Right.
Yeah, true. It doesn't allow for the sub conversations. You have the presentation phase.
Yeah, I've been watching the presentations that are recorded by different institutions, Artist Talk or what have you, and so you can either watch them live or they're recorded, and you can go back and watch them at a different time. Those seem to work well.
Yeah, those are, that's more like frontal education. Well, that's a term in Germany, when when the teacher stands up in front of the class and talks, and the students sit and listen and take notes. It's kind of like a very frontal presentation, like a TED Talk kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw one the other day that Mana Art had put together with Louis Mizell and one of his artists and a moderator. And they could control who was talking. I mean, there was, I don't know, maybe 30. I watched the recording. I didn't see it live. And there was maybe 30 people on watching the whole thing. And they could control if somebody, their friend or somebody there that had something contribute, they know would raise their hand and they could select them. And that would be a different a way to deal with the Zoom thing, a Zoom presentation.
True. I know that Periscope, I mean, I've been using Periscope to watch the news, which, I think Periscope is somehow connected to Twitter. I think it's bought by them or something, where there are live streams, which are then viewable later. And that may be an option, because then it would get people the opportunity to, step into the conversation or step into watching it without being able to vocally speak. So doing curated or like panel talks more, or kind of discussion things. That certainly, and it may be interesting thinking about that, if I can find a way to do it, to live stream a 360 video, that I have a conversation in a room where the viewer becomes a member in the room. I could put, theoretically, I could put the camera on the table and sit with 4 people, and we could discuss as regular people in a room and not be focused on the video and paying attention to whatever's happening on screen, but would rather be involved in discussing between each other, and then have something like an iPad or a computer where people can then write comments and engage in the conversation in not a passive way, but certainly not an intrusive way. And that could be interesting, because I can guarantee the 6 feet distance required inside of a controlled space like this. So put 2-3 people together in a room and then have a conversation, have the camera in the middle, and you're watching, and you can turn the camera and see, who's saying what.
You can record this, right?
Yeah, I could.
I mean, like if you got Sean on to talk about his, I mean, it would be a Zoom. There could be, give and take. We could ask him questions or something like that. It'd be recorded and it would be available on your gallery site for people to watch later. If that would, any other living artist that you represent would be a way to do it, or the estates of, or whatever. Just more information.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And Jeffrey Frankel has been doing a series of, I think, 3-minute interviews with some of his artists, where he asked them like 2-3 questions, and that's it. Boom. It's super short, sweet little, tiny little things. Darius Himes from Christie's, a good friend, has been doing readings from books, a similar idea, presenting like a small portion of information about something that he's passionate about. He gives some context and he reads. Johan Koenig has been kind of going crazy, doing all kinds of stuff. So that's an option as well. I don't know. I think the idea is good. One of the things that's a bit daunting is the actual labor involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I do 2 shows a week for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes up more than a full day of work of my time in the week.
Well, all right. For example, Sean, you could, I don't know, I was going to say easily, let's take that word out of it, but have short video clips of him talking about the images, and it's connected to the image that you have of it. The making of it, the experience of it, what it's about, or how he got the job to go do it. I mean,
but that's exactly what I'm talking about with the art register. That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's that, because then imagine if I gave Sean access to the art register and said, here, for every picture in here, say something meaningful.
Yeah.
And limit it to 3 days or something, right?
Right. Yeah, because Sean will he'll be like, whoa, huh, and
Right.
off he goes. But that kind of idea. And if I can I get what you're saying, James, and I think the idea is accurate. I'm dealing with the scale of it. I have to think about how do I scale that, because it becomes very simple to do 1, 2, or 3, or even 5 short clips. But if you're talking about Sean's entire body of work that I have in my system, there's hundreds of pictures that I have of his.
Yeah.
And if he has to say something to every one of them, even for him, it's daunting. Saying just a 30-second soundbite for every one of those pictures becomes a really challenging thing.
Yeah, well, you start out small and see where it goes. I mean, yes, when you look at a huge picture, it can be daunting, but it doesn't mean that that's where it has to stay.
Yeah, true.
And it might not be of any interest to anybody. So, but and on the other hand, it becomes a valuable part of an archive of Sean's work to have the artists there connected talking about the piece.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really key part of, the process that we're capable of attending to now. The digital process of saving information in a way that's connected directly to the most basic part of what the culture is. And again, this is, I've been thinking about this for so long, I sound like a religious fanatic when I discuss it sometimes. If I can connect the information to the meta level of the object being discussed, basically the negative, if you will, then every instance of that negative can have access to that information. Every print,
right,
where digitally rendered.
Right. I mean, I'm dreaming a database in my head about, everything's to the negative number. I mean, how many prints have been made, where they're located,
right,
the process I use to do it, and all of that. That's connected to a specific item.
Right. That's what I built.
Yeah.
I built it. I have it.
Oh, can I use it?
Yes. You can.
I think I actually have an account on Collection.
Do you?
But I think so. Unsure.
Send me an email. I'll set you both up with an account. Like I've been working on user experience stuff because I'm so deep in it that I just know how everything works. And so if something doesn't work right, I don't even recognize the fact that I'm like hacking stuff to make it work, because I know exactly what it's supposed to do. I say, oh, well, that's because of this. And then you push that button, boom, and it works. My staff is like, this drives me nuts. Every time I do this, I have to do it 3 times. Like, so I'm fixing all of that. But here, like I can show you. This is actually quite kind of fun. We we had this issue with the Rasta collection. Rasta's Russian, yeah, planet, the black hole, of course, right? So this is it. You know, these are all these objects. They're in portfolios, which are connected. You can define if they need to be sold together. And then you have all this information about them. Like, I don't have any sizes in here because we haven't done any conditioning on these yet. And the fact is that all this data, I inputted it. I spent about a day and a half working on the code. And then I inputted all of the motifs in, what did it take, like 10 minutes? Through a script. Boom, and they're in there. And, you know, I mean, I spent so much time on this. You know, it's like, this is, like, no one even knows about it. It's annoying. Wait a second, I gotta, you guys are in my way. I've got the video camera. Like, what do we got here? Is there anything in here? Yeah. And I see a picture, here's a Sean picture, and then I can see which exhibitions it was in. Go to the exhibition, and here are the other pictures from that exhibition with the pricing from that exhibition, and so on. It's, you know, completely interconnected. And here I can go in and you know, do this, and then I get one of these guys. And if Word is there fast enough, Word update.
I actually thought collection at first was more for galleries than it was for artists.
It's for everybody. I built this as a everything to everybody system. Like here, multiple inventory numbers, right? That's Sean's number. Like, I can't expect Sean to know this number. That's my number, right? So I built it that I can look for this. And if I take this number and I, where is it? Still getting used to. Those are the two prints of that negative because those are his numbers. And this print was in solitary structures. The other one was apparently in both. Or no, it was in two different exhibitions, right? Because in solitary structures, I had two different places where I hung the pictures. And in here, it's the edition, here are the pictures in the edition, and so on. So it's like all this stuff, like I spent all this time building this, and it does it, you know? So, and then of course, any of these works, if I want to send it to, sorry, that's, if I want to send somebody a link to have a look at it, well, we're back there.
Nice. So then what's the difference between this website and my personal website where I'm selling work?
This is a management system. This deals with like, you know, history and objects and all, you know, all these different aspects of the physicality of it. The front end plugin that I've written, which this is part of, I'm building out to be able to do things like, you know, be able to show portfolios or to do online exhibitions. And, you know, for example, I could have the site go up and it show then just works from the current exhibition. And that could then either be shown via the Collecton URL, or it could be embedded into another site. So you could have your artist site, like a Squarespace site, or, you know, a simple HTML page, which says, hi, I am, and here's my information. And then at the bottom, you could link to this system, and it would then render either in an embed. it would render your homepage, your exhibition, or you could use that data and render it using a plugin on the other end.
So is this something that you've entered all the data on, or is this Sean's entered all the data and it links to yours?
No, we entered it.
Okay.
Oh, got it. All right, very nice. So see, and then I can output these things. Which there's any number of them, depending on
Different formats.
yeah. And these templates are all user defined. So basically what happened is I was not happy with the software I was seeing. And so I built it.
Of course. Man of many talents.
Well, I had a great team. You know, Cake PHP was the primary development team behind this. There's a guy, Evgeny Tomenko, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name properly, an extraordinary programmer. Larry and I have been friends for a long time, back from when I was working on a social media platform called I Am Hip Hop in LA, like, God, 14 years ago or something. That was like forever ago, when I was a Flash programmer. And that ended up tanking. That was like before Facebook got big. We had, notes up on the wall. Like, one of our primary competition targets is Facebook, and like no one knew what it was. It's like so long ago, right? Yes, I think I rode a horse to work back then.
Yeah.
And so, the problem is that all the solutions that I've seen have all been part solutions. Like it fixes this problem or that problem or that problem. And, the internet idiom is, let's go rush out and, minimum viable product. Like, wow, I know how to cook an egg. I'm going to open a restaurant. Kind of that, which is like the most ridiculous thing, right? Because particularly with the complexity, considering the fact that I have this absolutely ordinary collection of work from my family to deal with. I mean, the Sander body of work alone is, in its complexity, almost unknown. 3 generations of people making prints, all of them great. A number of publishers, a mountain of books, different projects, 2 wars. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like, it's ridiculous. And no system could do that without me having to know how I did it inside of that system. And that annoyed me because it didn't make sense. Like, it's like when the gas pedal was sometimes on the right side and sometimes in the middle of the car, the pedals in the car. And every time you go to a new system, you have to learn it and change it. It all made no sense to me. And so I started building this thing. And every time I saw a problem, I fixed it. And now I'm like 5 years down the road and I've got this extraordinary system, which I just spent all my time and all my money building and none of my time and money marketing.
Sounds like the typical artist problem.
Time there and sell the system.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on. Clark Warswick, a dear friend who, Clark and Joni, a great collector of Walker Evans. He had the largest collection of Walker Evans anywhere until he sold all his duplicates. I mean, he's a madman. Wonderful guy, great photographer, who I represented for a while, his and Joni's work, but that just was difficult because of the timing and all that. And he, in some email at some point, he laughed, or he wrote to me laughing or jokingly, he said, Julian, I think you're not an art dealer. I think you're an artist pretending to be a gallerist. Which, I think there's a degree of truth to that.
Creative people do a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There's a number of people who are like that. I'm not the only one, clearly, certainly. So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, thanks for your feedback on this. You know, it's a tough problem, and everyone's dealing with it right now. All the galleries have to resolve it. All the artists have to resolve it. I think there may be a real window of opportunity for artists at this phase if they can find a way to reach people. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. And that's, social media is one thing. Like, I had this conversation with my mother yesterday. We were talking about, um, you know, setting up a homepage, and then if you have the homepage, well, then people will see it, and that is so absolutely untrue, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look at the statistics of my gallery site, and
It's always been an issue of marketing. It's always that. And it's like if you build a website, it's like you got a 7-Eleven in the middle of South Dakota along US on Interstate 90. It's like, who's ever going to come to it? You got to get people to come to it. So just putting a website up isn't it. It's marketing. That's the weak point. And you have a much better position in this than I do or that Taylor has, just simply because you've been in it and you do this. Yeah. But, compared to, say, Gagosian or Zwerner, you're not in the same ballpark as they're in, but it's a much bigger ballpark than individual artists can play in.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I was also working on with the Art Register to solve actually that problem is I built a way where the system only shows you work that's close. It's local. It has a local orientation. And the idea I had was, if I have a system where, like, Google Maps for the art, right? And an artist says, okay, I'm going to do an open studio during a fair. Like, if he's competing or she's competing at that point with the fair itself and, the standard communication process, it becomes an impossible feat. Like, there's no way that, like, a solo artist trying to break into the game is going to be able to make that happen. Primarily because people won't find it. Because the consumer or the collector at that point is completely flooded with information. Like, the VIP packages you get, and then all the calls from, the bigger the gallery, the more calls you get from them and so on. And it becomes it's the battle of the biggest dog barking, basically.
Overload.
Yeah.
Just overload.
And so the idea I had was to create a system which would reduce that. There's no prioritization. You can't buy to be on top. The only way you could be on top is if you're the closest thing.
Mm.
Okay.
That's cool.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
And with the way I built the system, it allows you to see what's happening close to you. It's not about, oh, well, there's a great opening happening in Tokyo. Like, okay, but I'm not going to drive to Tokyo tonight. Getting changed to drive to Tokyo is more time than I have. I'm not going to Tokyo. Fuck Tokyo, right? So and there's so much great work everywhere. I mean, like, if this app was running in Miami, James, it would find your work.
Yeah.
If you said, okay, I'm going to do an open studio tomorrow from 2 to 6. I mean, you can't do it now because of, but you understand the meaning. Then people in your area would be able to see that.
But
and that, I think, is an interesting idea.
A lot of people on the portal.
Yeah, that's the problem, because I need to get the artist on the portal so that the artist can say, look, I'm here. Here's my work. And I can, with the connection of being able to give an artist a voice inside of that platform, each artist can go in and add the information to their own work as they see fit. Hold on a second, I need to open the door. Sorry. That's the guy from next door. So in the portal, if everyone had the opportunity as an artist to present their own voice, to speak to their work, then it becomes a platform not only for the gallerists to have good information about the artist's work, but also for the artists to be able to accurately represent what they're doing and give themselves a chance. And, you know, there's all kinds of issues like copyright issues, which I've had to deal with and I found a solution to. And then, you know, visual recognition libraries, which we built a proprietary library to deal with that so that we can, you know, recognize images, so that you can find information about images by scanning them in a newspaper or even off a screen. You know, I mean, so this is me geeking out, right? Anyways, but I think that, you know, opening the channels of communication to bring everyone to a single table or to a single conversation, the gallerist selling, the collector buying, and the artist creating, and bringing those three people together into a conversation where they can commune with each other, and the communication becomes organic and is not trapped and not locked down by these layers of art world privilege, which, you know, I mean, and that sounds so very privileged of me to say that from my position, but, you know, truth is truth no matter who says it. The liar speaking the truth is still speaking the truth.
Julian.
Yes.
I think this would be an amazing app. That would revolutionize the art market totally. And you know, if you find a way how you can connect all three parties, wow, this would be, I mean, definitely amazing. Go for it.
I built it. Jan, I built it.
I think make an appointment is an opportunity to see where that goes. You know, so that you can get, I mean, if the artist is alive, get the artist on there, and you and the buyer. I think that would really be an opportunity there. I mean, on your scale, you can do it. Gagosian couldn't do it; the scale's too big. But I think that there is a scale that would be a perfect opportunity to make it more intimate and educational, and, you know, deal with the scholarship of the whole issue.
Speaking of that, and you know, I mean, I don't want to. This is a live video, so I got to be a bit careful about all the stuff that I have in my wheelhouse. But this thing is capable. Like the way I built the software, it can replace the digital infrastructure of any museum, which means that a museum with their information inside of this architecture would not need to have a digital media architecture inside, because everyone would be bringing their own phone with them and would be able to gather the information that they put there. You know, like one of the issues that I had to deal with was photography. Yeah, photography, right? So imagine two galleries in the same city having different prints of the same picture, right? Like, for example, I may have a modern print of the three young farmers, and the SK Stiftung Kultur, the Augustaner Stiftung or Foundation, Archive, sorry, the Augustaner Archive may have an exhibition at the same time with the vintage print that they have, that they got, I think, who did they get that? Well, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so two different pictures, very, very different histories of the pictures, very different stories about the physical object, right? And if, like, what I did is I made it that if you're in my gallery and you're looking at the picture in my gallery, you're getting the information that I'm telling you. And if you go then to the SK Stiftung and look at the picture there, you would get the information that they tell you.
So
I don't have to.
Visual recognition, you could just click on it and it's proximity, location, all tied into the data? Cool.
A little more complicated than that, but in a nutshell, that's it.
I'm only doing big picture here, but yeah.
So that's what I built. And
So
I have,
how can I have it? Can I be part of this?
Oh, that's very expensive.
I'll set you up an account.
You just have to sign up.
Yeah.
So, so that's you can pay for all this. Sell it to a museum. It's proprietary.
Yeah, that's the idea. And the way that I built it, this is another one of these stupid things that I did. The way that I built it, first off, it's made to scale. So we did a test run at Art Cologne a couple years ago, and we scaled the architecture that it automatically grows to handle load, which means that my actual cost of running it is tiny. It's less than my rent for my house. Well, I don't rent my house, I own my house. But if I were to rent my house, less than the rent would be for my house to run the entire operation. That's the way that we designed it. And that means that it's literally capable of working, and I don't need a lot of money to make it happen. Now, of course, I want to make money doing it because I put a lot of money into it. I won't even tell you how much money I spent on this. It's enough. Anyways, so the big invitation to all who are watching, James, you, Jan, and Taylor, and everybody else, send me an email with an email address that you want the account registered to, artist account. I'll set you up an account. You can test it.
Okay, I will do that.
And if you have a lot of work that you want to enter that you have digitally, I can do that faster digitally, like
okay,
on the
awesome.
terminal, because I know that's a lot of work. If you have 1,000 pictures, that's a lot of work. And if it's standardized data, I can do that in 10 minutes, or 1,000 pictures will take me about 2 minutes to import.
Awesome. I'll send you an email.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. I'll send you one too.
And then tell people about it.
So the email address that's on the website, yeah?
Here, I'll put it in the chat. Actually, I'm going to give you a different address because it's the one that's connected to the company.
I thought I signed up a few years ago, but maybe I forgot my password, so
Yeah.
I'll just...
Taylor, it's very, very, very possible. Don't worry about it. I mean, I have your email address. So,
yeah.
But anybody who wants it, send me an email address. Send me an email to the address I just put in the chat, because I don't want to put that out to everybody. Everybody else can write to team@collecton.com. Team as in team at Collecton, COLLEKTON.com. And say you want an artist test account, and I'll get it set up, and then we'll see where the adventure goes.
Yes.
Right.
It's still a bit work in progress, but
super cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's, I've been looking for a way. Oh, I've got someone else here. I'm gonna, Brian, there we go. Brian is here. He only had audio. Sorry, Brian, I didn't see that. So I've promoted you to speaker or to panelist. So yeah, and please test it, try and break it. Hey, Brian, test it, try and break it, and let me know what you think. And if you have encouragements or you have complaints, send them through.
Absolutely.
Or ideas that you haven't covered yet.
Yep. And one of the things that, again, just, the artist doesn't talk about why they're painting certain parts of a painting. They just kind of do. This thing does a ridiculous amount of stuff. And I'm starting to do videos that explain little bits of it. Like the last 2 weeks I've spent on some very important user experience stuff. So if something's unclear and you want something, then just write me and say, can I do this? And to date, I haven't found anybody with a question that I couldn't answer with, yes, this is how you do it.
Challenge
So
accepted.
Wow.
And I have no alpha testers, so now I have alpha testers. Hi, alpha testers.
Alpha tester. Are we alpha testers or quality assurance?
I think you're alpha testers. Although the system is, I mean, the Cake team, Cake PHP, honestly, it's a great team of guys. Cake Development Corp. Sorry, I have to do some name duty here. A great team that have been extraordinary in this project, and I couldn't have built it without them. So it's built with an extreme robustness.
Fantastic. All right.
Julian, I was promoted. I think before you or after you had put the link into the chat function. I was just wondering if you might.
I will be happy to do so.
Thank you.
Typing it now.
It's hyattb@gmail. Yeah.
You should see it in the chat.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, another Q&A. Who's this? No, that's right. Boom. Okay. That's cool. I'm sorry, I didn't see I don't pay attention to all the little lights and bells and whistles in Zoom. It's a bit weird to get used to this. So anyhow, well, thanks everyone for joining. Brian,
What do you
sorry
plan for next Tuesday?
Yeah, next Tuesday. And next Tuesday, for next Tuesday, I plan to do the third translation or the third radio lecture by August Sander, which I just postponed a bit because of coming back to the gallery and having to deal with all the stuff that's happening here.
All right.
So,
See you
and
next
then he starts stepping into the creative process and all of that. So it should be interesting.
Thank you.
Great. All right. See you next week.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining, and